All right. We are on chapter 1. It's called Tools of Geometry. Section 1-1 is points, lines, and planes. So don't look at that yet. What we're going to do is talk about vocab. So geometry has a lot of vocab in it. I'm going to do this so you can't. Oh, come on. It's too slow. It's fine. Geometry has a lot of vocab in it. In geometry, if you don't know the vocab, you can't get the question right. So in algebra, I know that you had vocab, but you maybe didn't have to know every word all the time. You could still, like, if you saw 2 plus x equals 7, you didn't even have to read the directions. You could just be like, oh, I think they want me to find x, right? In geometry, it's not like that. If I say find the supplement of an angle, and you don't know what the word supplement means, you have no idea what you're supposed to do. Does that make sense to you? So it's imperative that you understand the vocab. So this first chapter especially is going to be a lot of vocab because it's the first chapter. So please don't think the notes are always going to take this long, but I'm going to go slowly because it's your first day with my geometry notes, but also vocab's really, really important. So I find that if I take that time now, it helps you later. Eventually, we're going to just, like, the notes will be 2 or 3 vocab words and then, like, math. Okay, so for today, it might be a little tedious, but I don't know any way around it. Okay, so the first definition that you guys have is a point, right? It's hard to explain, right? You guys know what a point is. What's a point? Show me on your paper. Make a point for me. Got, right? That's a point. It's super hard to explain, isn't it? So that's a word that we're going to add in. Before the point, we're going to do undefined terms. An undefined term, I'll show you in a moment, is something like a point where it's really hard to define, but we all kind of know what it is, okay? So what I did was underneath the title and above the word point, there was a little bit of space, so I put undefined term there, okay? An undefined term can only be explained using examples and descriptions. For example, a point. That was hard to explain. So take your time, write that down. If you can't see, please feel free to get up and just move. You don't have to ask, just get up and move. So especially the people like in that back row, if you're fine where you are, great. But if you want to move to that row, if that would be any better, you feel free to do that, okay? All right, so the next one you have is a point. That one is undefined. It's hard to explain. So let's just look at what we've got here. A point is undefined. I would say that. And again, these are your notes. If you don't want to write the whole word undefined after that first time, you could write UNDEF period if you understand that. I don't care. It's for you. Okay? So it's undefined. A point is a location. It's represented by a capital letter. I don't think that's anything you didn't already know. When I asked you guys to draw a point, everybody did. So for example, that is point A. I always like to try to give you a visual example. So if I were you, I'd probably put a point and a capital A or a capital B or whatever. Okay? If you're someone who writes a little bit bigger than what this space is provided, on the back of your notes for today, you see all that space. You only need like a line or two after that first question. After that, it's all going to be blank anyway. So if you feel like putting C on back and writing them all on the back, you'll have space for that. Okay? All right, our next one is a line. So a line is like my arm, right? So a line goes on forever in both directions. Okay? It's undefined again. It's made up of points and has no thickness or width. There's exactly one line through any 2 points. You guys knew that from Algebra 1. You knew that 2 points made a line, right? Can I have more points than that if I'd like to? Can I have 15 points on a line if I want? Sure, right? How many do I have to have? 2. Have to have 2. Just one point would be a point, right? 2 points make a line. Okay? So when you're ready, we're also going to give ourselves an example of what that would look like. Okay? So again, if you're running out of space, feel free to go to the back or the margin or whatever works for you. So I'm going to go ahead and draw myself a line, and I'm going to put 2 points on it. I'm going to put a capital A and a capital B. I'm also going to put a lowercase cursive m. I know that some of you guys maybe didn't learn cursive in elementary school. That's okay. Just make a fancy swoopy M. I'll understand what you're saying, okay? So here's what I want to talk about is all the different ways I can name that line, okay? One option is the capital letters, the points, with a line with a double-headed arrow over it. Capital A, capital B, right? If AB, line AB, is an option, what else do you think would be an option? BA, sure. Either way, doesn't matter. Do you guys get that? Another option, I could call it line, lowercase cursive m. There's more options than that, but I don't think you need them. I think that's plenty. So I typically choose this one. It's faster for me, AB or BA with a double-headed arrow over it to let myself know it's a line. It extends forever in both directions. But you can also just do line, lowercase cursive m, or even just a lowercase cursive m by itself. So in geometry, it matters if it's a capital letter, a lowercase letter, a cursive letter. You don't want to accidentally go interchanging them because you're actually trying to say it's something else. So be super careful with that, okay? Anybody confused at all? Great. A plane is undefined again. It's a flat surface made up of points that extends indefinitely in all directions. There's exactly one plane through any 3 points not on the same line. Take your time, write that down, and then I'll show you an example. When you're ready, I want you to open up your book to page 5, and I want to show you what that looks like. If you don't have your book today, lean to a neighbor, okay? Go to page 5. I try not to do that as often as I can, but sometimes it's a lot easier just to look at a picture in your book than it is for me to try to draw it on here. So when you're ready, go to page 5. I don't mean P5, literally go to the one that just has a 5 on it. And you're going to want to keep this open anyway because we're going to look at that again in a second. So on page 5, do you see at the bottom where it says plane and it's highlighted in yellow? It's obviously a vocab term, right? So the one with the plane, do you see that blue sideways rectangle looking thing? Right? That's how they indicate a plane. So they usually give it a color, light blue or light green or something. Do you guys see that capital cursive K in the lower right-hand corner in your book in the picture? Page 5? Okay. That capital cursive K is telling me it's plane K. All right? Do you see points B, D, and C in it? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to talk about how we can name a plane. So I'm going to try to draw it decently well. So capital cursive K. What was it, a B, a D, and a C? Is that right? Okay. Something like that, sort of, but better. Okay. So if you go back here, a line has 2 points, right? A plane has 3 points not on the same line. Do you see that B, D, and C don't make a line? Do you see that? Okay. If they did, I can't use those. So I'd have to say something else. So here's how we can name a plane. I can call it plane, capital cursive K. I can call it plane, B, C, D. What else do you think I could call it? Plane. What did you say? C, B, D. Sure, right? Any combination of those 3. As long as those points are not on the same line. You can pick any of those. Any of those are a choice. Is that okay? Okay. Yes, and we'll have an example of that in a second. So you'll get to see it. Space, a boundless 3D set of all points. All right. Collinear. When you think of co-whatever, first of all, when you hear the word linear, what do you hear inside of that? Line, right? So collinear probably means points that are on the same line, something like that, right? So points that lie on the same line. So show yourself an example of that. Collinear would look like this. Points A and B are on the same line, right? So what do you think non-collinear would mean? Not on the same line, right? So just like that, coplanar is points that lie on the same plane. Non-coplanar would be points that do not lie on the same plane. And we're going to add even a little bit more. So for me, I was out of room. I put what I'm going to say right now at the very bottom underneath that picture on the front. Again, the back side we won't use much of, so if you want to put it there, you can put it there. So what we're going to talk about now is intersection. Okay. Two lines intersect in a what? If I draw two lines like this in my arms, if I cross my arms, where do they intersect? What's this called right here where they intersect? What would that be? Where do two lines intersect? Do they intersect in a plane? Do they make another line there? What do they make there? A point. Two lines intersect in a point, right? So we're going to write that down. Two lines intersect in a point. In geometry, when things intersect, we say in a point, in a line, or something like that. If you said they intersect at a point, I'm not going to mark that wrong. I just show you the proper terms, okay? So go to page 6, please. I want to show you something. If you go to page 6, at the very bottom, do you guys see the bottom left where you have two lines intersecting in a point? You see line L, line M, and they cross at P? Right? That's what we just talked about. What I want to show you now is lines can intersect planes. Go at the top of this page. Okay? At the top of this page it says example 1 and there's a blue plane, capital cursive P. Do you guys see that? Okay? Do you see line TX? Or you could call it line R? Do you guys see that one? Do you see how half of it's solid and half of it's dotted? That's how they're indicating that that line is going through the planes. So let me show you what that means. If it's half dotted, half solid, it means that my pencil is going through the piece of paper. If it's all solid, it means my pencil's laying on the piece of paper. So half solid, half dotted is saying the line's intersecting the plane. Do you guys see that in the picture? Okay. And then one more thing I want you to see at the bottom of this page again. We see the blue and the green planes intersecting, the blue B and the green A. See that? Do you see that they intersect in line R? Okay, so two planes intersect in a line, two lines intersect in a point. So we're going to write all those down that we just said, okay? Lines can intersect planes. That was the top picture. If that happens, here's my plane, right? Here's a line, dotted at the bottom, solid at the top. I didn't label anything, but that's what it looks like typically. Okay? And then we're going to say planes can intersect each other. Which you might want to be more specific and say two planes intersect in a line. This is something people, it's new for them and they kind of forget. I would put page 6 has a picture if you want to see that picture. Okay? You ready to do some now? Take your time. Copy everything down on this page. Let me know when you're ready, okay? So for right now, the vocab / note part takes a little bit longer. The actual examples take like 2 seconds. Okay? So when you're ready, look at that first bullet point on your notes where it says give all names of the line containing capital K. All right, so you guys look for a moment while people are copying and see if you can kind of think in your head about what we would maybe write down. Take your time. I won't turn until you're ready. Does anyone still need this page? Are we good? Okay. All right, so this should be what you have. If yours is hard to see, you can look at mine. All right? Give all names of the line containing K. So that's a capital non-cursive K, so that means a point, right? So what do you guys think? Just spit one out at me. Okay, so if it's a line, how many points do I need to name it? Just 2, right? If I use 3, what's that mean? A plane, right? So lines are only 2. So we would call it maybe JK with a double-headed arrow over it. What else could I call it? KL with a double-headed arrow over it. What else? Can I call it JL? Can I skip that middle one? Sure, you can do that, right? JL. And I can also flip those around, right? I could call it KJ. I could call it LK or LJ. There's one other option. What else can I call a line? That lowercase cursive a. Or you could call it line, lowercase cursive a. Eventually, you don't have to give me 50 different names for something, but for now, I need you to know all the possibilities because one quiz might have a lowercase cursive a, and if you don't know what that means, you don't know how to answer the question, or one might ask you for line JK, and if you don't know what that means, you don't know how to answer the question. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Give 4 names of the plane containing point L. So they want 4 different ways to call that plane. So whenever you talk about a plane, you have to use 3 non-collinear points. So let's say what it cannot be. What's the only one wrong answer that I cannot say? Okay, well, yeah, because that's 2 points. That'd be wrong, too. What's the 3 collinear points on here I can't use together? JKL. I cannot call this plane JKL. Pretty much everything else would be fine. Okay? So I can call it plane JKM. Do you guys see what that is showing you? It's non-collinear. So let's say plane JKM is fine. So what else would be fine? Any 3 non-collinear points? Say it again. KLM would be fine. Plane, what else? JKL is the one that's not okay. Is that what you said again? We could say JLM. Sure. And we can also call it plain capital cursive L. Is that an L? That's an L, right, on yours? Yeah, that's an L. All those are fine. If you like non-examples, you could say not plain JKL. If you like non-examples, if that's not confusing for you, maybe put that down, okay? If that confuses you, then don't put that down. It's up to you. Any 3 non-collinear points make a plane. Does anyone still need this page? Sure? Okay. Name the geometric terms modeled by each object, a knot and a rope. So they're kind of saying the definitions that we talked about today. Which one would a knot and a rope be? A point, a line, a plane, intersecting lines, a knot and a rope. Just a point. Yeah, don't overthink it. Just a point. Okay? A telephone pole. That'd be a line. Everybody okay? When they say partially open folder, look up here. I'm just going to use a partially opened book, okay? I got a partially opened book. What's this? It's a plane. What's this? Another plane intersecting in a line. I think that's what they want. I think they want you to say something about intersecting planes. Okay? Do you guys get that? Don't overthink those. Those aren't meant to be hard. That's for a lunch to leave lunch. So it's not us. And then another bell's going to ring to tell them to be in class. And then another bell's going to ring to tell us to go to lunch. Okay? All right. Let's see here. Draw and label a figure for the following relationship. Capital cursive R, so plain R, contains lines AB and line DE, which intersect at point P, and point C is non-collinear to both lines. Pretend you left your book at school and you needed help with number 7. You called your friend and you're like, hey, I don't know what that picture looks like. You need to explain it to me. They're like, okay, well, plain R has A, B, and D in it. That's kind of what we're doing. We're drawing this picture, okay? In geometry, the awesome thing about it is that all your answers don't have to be the exact same and you could still be right. The awful thing about it is that all your answers don't have to be the same and you could still be right. So just because your picture doesn't look like your neighbor's doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. Okay? So, first thing, let's start with plane R. I'm going to draw a plane and a capital cursive R. That's plane R. Did I have to put the R here? A swoopy R is fine if you don't know how to do it. So basically, if you guys didn't learn cursive, make an R and make it a little swoopy. Probably is fine. I'm okay with that. Okay? I know it's a plane because it was a capital cursive letter. So a plane looks like a rectangle on its side. Okay? It contains lines A, B, and D, E. Well, I know how to draw lines, but they were like, oh, just kidding. Those lines intersect. So there's only really one way to draw intersecting lines. What's that going to look like? An X, right? But all your X's could look different. So one of your X's could look like this. That's fine. One of them could look like this, and that's fine. As long as it's an X, it's fine. No. Nope. I'm just going to put 2 lines in there somewhere. Okay? But I have to label those lines. One of those has to be AB, and the other one has to be DE. Does it matter which one's which? No, doesn't matter at all. I'm going to put an A here, I'm going to put a B here, I'm going to put a D here, and I'm going to put an E here. That's up to you where you put those. Doesn't matter. Okay? So that's done. They intersect at point P. So where's that go? Right here, right? That has to be a P. There's no option there. Okay? So we're halfway there. Point C is non-collinear to both lines. What's that mean, non-collinear? Not on the same line, right? So can I put C here? No? Can I put it here? No? No? What about here? Lines extend indefinitely in all directions. Can I put it there? No, because it's really on the line even though I quit drawing the line. Do you see what I'm saying? The safest place would be like here or here. Do you see what I'm saying? One of these options. So I'm going to put it, points are just a capital normal letter, not squiggly. So do you guys understand that it could look close to mine, but not exactly the same and still be right? Okay? Did I lose anybody? Excellent. Oh, sure. You're all right. Don't be sorry. That's a capital cursive R. Um, that's okay. It's capital cursive R. That's why I like referring to your book a lot because it's easier to see in print that way. So if you did a capital cursive something and it wasn't the right letter, I wouldn't mark that wrong. I'd realize that obviously you couldn't read it. It's okay. All right? Okay, so again, you guys have a picture, but if yours is hard to see, you're welcome to look at mine. Either way, all right? Name two collinear points. One more time. What's collinear mean? On the same line. Points on the same line. So somebody pick any point at all. Pick one of those. T, all right? So now we have to be a little more careful. What would be collinear with T? There's a few options. W would be fine. S would be fine. P would be fine. Any of those would be fine. Pick a different point. M, all right? Pick something collinear with M as in money. W would be fine. N as in no would be fine. P would be fine. Any of those would be fine. So pick any 2 points. No, I'm just going to say M and P. I'm just going to list them. You could have picked any 2 points pretty much, and that would have been fine. Okay? They wanted 2 collinear points, so they just wanted M and P, or W and Q, something like that. To plane A, this is plane A, the bottom one, okay? And plane MNP. Plane MNP is this one. A plane does not always have to look like a rectangle on its side. It can be any shape. It could be a triangle. It could be a pentagon. It could be a square. That's still a plane, okay? So does this plane here intersect with this plane here? This one and this one. No. What are those? Non-intersecting. What's the word for non-intersecting? Parallel. Good. No, those are parallel. Those aren't going to intersect. All they technically asked you is the yes or no, but these are notes, so I'm going to say it's because it was parallel. So that way when I go back and I forget why I said no, I'll remember, oh yeah, they were parallel. That's why. Okay? Our points T, S, R, Q, and V coplanar. Don't say it out loud. Find all those points. See if they're on the same plane. Yes or no? T, S, R, Q, and V. Are they all on the same plane? What do you guys think? Nope, we got T, S, R, Q, and V. So no, right? No, I'm going to say V is not. That way when I come back later, I'll remember why I said that. What? T and R are not connected in this picture, but any 2 points can make their own line if they'd like to. So I typically go with the picture the way it's drawn. I would say if they wanted 2 points on the same line, I would have said T and S. I probably would not have said T and R, even though technically you could have said any 2 points you wanted at all. Does that make sense? Those are all on this plane, and this is on a whole different plane. Is that okay? It's like the bottom of your cup and the top of your cup. Those all the other ones, but V were down on the bottom of the cup and V was on the top of the cup. Those are 2 separate planes. Okay? Does anybody have any questions at all anywhere? Are you sure? Okay.